You're listening to another episode of the Anna Vivo podcast. Thank you for your time.
Where do we go? Learn. You want to restart?
Nope.
What are we learning today?
Anybody ever watch that show, Reading Rainbow?
Reading Rainbow.
I used to watch that show with Lamar.
Yeah, the guy that loses his arm in Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, that was a good show. We also only had bunny ears on our TV. And so I'm pretty sure that was like one of 4 shows we could get as a kid growing up. So it was good. We read these stories and then they would come alive. And I liked it. That is not what we're here to talk about today. Welcome back to another episode of Anna Vivo. We are doing a mini-series. This is part 2 or 3 or 4 of a 4-part series on things that Stephen and I have been discussing randomly in our heads that we wish we could have recorded, but also topics that were generated for us by, shout out to Stephen.
AI.
Shout out to Chat AI. And that is I don't have that one. Oh no. Oh no.
Just do a random one.
Oh no. No. Oh my goodness. That's what was replaced. Okay, so we've got this podcasting equipment. And we have to preface this episode, like we do with most episodes, that this is not a professional podcasting studio. We are in my home office. There are children running around. There's a dog somewhere in this house, and my lovely wife. And Stephen and I are here on podcasting equipment provided for us by Rode. Shout out to Rode. And they make fantastic equipment. Some of it, though, is too advanced for me, a.k.a. the applause feature that I just was looking for. That I have realized that I replaced with this fun sound by accident.
I thought you already had crickets.
No, I had a poorly pre-recorded version of crickets that was like a southwestern Anglo-Saxon cricket. You know, like one of those crickets that are just don't sound really good.
Oh,
I'm just making that up, but. It was not a good cricket sounding. And I guess I replaced the applause with that one. So anyway, Chat AI, if you go to openai.com, is a wonderful program that you can ask any questions to. And we just did an episode on AI and the ethics of AI, if you want to go back and listen to that if you haven't already. But one of the topics it came up with, interestingly enough, and I don't know, Stephen, you sent these to me. I don't know if this was intended by the Chat AI bot, depending on the question that you asked.
yeah, it's never wrong.
It's never wrong, but it gave us a list of what we need to be discussing. The first one, machine learning and ethics. And then, how do we cheat death? I'm starting to wonder if the AI is seeking out the answers for this for itself.
Yeah.
Why? There's literally a billion topics you could have given us, and the first one we just did was the ethics of AI, and the second one today we're discussing the search for everlasting life.
Well, it likes iRobot and Tuck Everlasting.
Yeah, exactly. This was the actual topic it gave us was the Fountain of Youth and the history behind that. And so I'm wondering, what do you have going on, Chat AI? What are you looking for there, buddy? So that's what we're talking about today. There's this great mystery, this shrouded mystery of the Fountain of Youth. Dun, 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 the Fountain of Youth. And what what is that all about? Where did that come from? What is that doing today? Have we discovered it? What's the behind, and what's in front of the in front? And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I want to start historically because I'm a big picture kind of person. I like to start up in 60,000 feet and kind of drill down, give you context, left and right limit context for what this topic is all about. We have famous people, Ponce de Leon, coming over and looking for the famed Isles of Bimini, which ironically Grace and I just found last year on the maiden voyage of the Scarlet Lady, which is Richard Branson's newest line of cruise ships, Virgin Voyages. His maiden his flagship, the Scarlet Lady, we took out of Miami to the Bahamas, Nassau, and then came back to his private island, Bimini. And Bimini was a mythical place, is a real place that was famed for having, or supposedly having and holding, the Fountain of Youth. How perfect for Richard Branson, right? Billionaire, genius, playboy. So there's a lot of history behind this. But really, and this, again, I mentioned this before in a few episodes, it kind of comes down to what you believe about yourself and what you believe about others and this place.
Here we go.
If you have been born and you're listening to this and you're alive and you've never asked yourself the question, why am I here? Where am I going? What does this all mean? On this rock hurtling through space, thousands of miles an hour, whatever it is. If you've never asked yourself those questions, you're probably too busy and you're inputting this kind of content and other stuff that is not meaningful for the existence of life. And so this is me giving you permission to turn this off and go write white space into your life and really ask yourself those questions. If you've spent some time going through those questions and you are a non-religious person and you've got, there's theories that you would hold to based off of whatever, science or context or history or whatever, and you've answered the questions in either a meaningless way, like, we're just here, randomly, or evolution or whatever, and it's, you die and that's it. And what are the implications for that belief and how you're living your life now? And in the same vein, for the folks listening that are religious, and you've answered those questions through a religious context, in whatever religion that looks like, if I'm Buddhist and I have to do this and this and this to achieve this, or if I'm Catholic and I have to do this, this, and this and really reach this, or if I'm I don't know, shout out some other Hindu and I have to do this, this, or this, and really help me out here, Steve.
You're a realtor and you have to do this.
You're a realtor and that's your religion, and you just have to do one more deal. That's that should be convicting for some of you listening. If you are, whatever your context is, and however you're answering that question,
the point is,
it all goes back. Yeah, go ahead.
You either believe that something like this could exist, possibly, or you are already predisposed to believe that this could never exist.
That's not the point I was making,
Oh.
but that is a good point. Yes, you either believe that this could happen, a fountain of youth that would help you live forever, or something like that, or you're predisposed to not believing in something like that. But the point is, my point is, all of this history behind all of these things, and there's great articles. Stephen and myself, obviously not experts in any of these fields. There's way smarter people out there that have done so much more research and articles on all of this stuff. But it all seems to stem back to one specific event. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And you didn't know this, did you, Stephen? I'll take that silence as the answer that you did not know this. So, eternal youth and all of this behind it. First of all, I want to take a break from this past and going back through the history and where it all stems from to point out that I am very interested and I love learning about the science behind a lot of this stuff. For instance, if you've never heard of telomeres or telomeres, or the Hayflick limit, do some research on that because it's interesting stuff. So, and there is a point in our biology that obviously determines our age and our death, the destruction of our cells, different things like that. And so the DNA plays in these telomeres that sit on the end of chromosomes and keep them, protect those chromosomes from joining with other chromosomes. And one of their roles that they do, they regulate this cell division by deciding how many times a cell can divide, or basically restricting it into a number of divisions. And that determines the length of life, is what we know so far. And that's a very biological thing, very really cool. But the rumors and the mystery and the history and the mythology and all this about the fountain of youth or eternal youth, and this pervasive just desire for this, all comes back to one thing. We see it in marketing even today. How many, maybe this is a question for the women listening, how many of your cosmetic products are named with something like eternal or eternity or everlasting or things like that make are sold to make someone feel young, or to make them feel like this product will help me stay young, or this product will help me, or even if it's not named that, are described in a way in the marketing context or exemplified on the commercial in a way that makes you feel young and wanting to stay this way forever. So there is a lot of really cool history that we're not going to run through in the entire episode today. But a few of the things I want to point out in the history of searching for the fountain of youth, or this desire for preserving life. And interestingly enough, most of it all starts back with this idea of a magical, can you guess?
Pleodorodon.
A magical Leoplorodon?
Leoplorodon.
Oh, no. Any guesses?
Goblet.
Ooh, that is one of them. But that's not, this is older than that.
Oh. A magical egg.
No, closer.
A gem.
Closer. No.
Philosopher's stone.
No, that's one of them actually, but no. It's right here if you can see this picture.
Tim, our listeners can't see that picture.
If
No.
you can see this picture with your corticonus.
I can't see it with my cortisone eyes.
Stephen hates
It's
it
an apple.
when I look at him in our podcast, and that's how I engage with people, is by making eye contact and being personal. And so we're back to back right now, looking at computer screens. This is not ideal. Yes, this is an apple. So it started with an apple. It started with this piece of fruit, and some of them would be golden apples. Some
Tree of life.
Well, some of them would be golden apples. Some of them would be red apples. There's this story, the hero of Russian folklore, Ivan Sadovek, that catches a firebird who has been trying to steal golden apples. In one instance, there's the mythology of Loki. Everyone knows the trickster Loki, and how he had made a deal with the giant Thiasse, who captured Eden and her precious apples. Idun, I-D-U-N, and her precious apples. That would and eating of these apples would allow you to live forever. And so and that's the Norse mythology. That's some Russian mythology. In Japanese mythology, mermaids are said to have the power of immortality, but actually it's eating specific parts of these mermaid creatures, and these mermaid creatures are mermaid and monkey mixes, which are interesting. So sort of a fish monkey mix that you eat these apple and you turn into ambrosia, which is translates into the Greek culture where they had these apples and made this sort of ambrosia out of it that would allow you to live forever. And there is this idea of the magical peach in China, which interestingly enough in the artwork looks more like an apple than peaches. But they have this round fruit that was that they now celebrate a banquet called the Feast of Peaches that people would eat to live forever. And so there's this idea, and this goes all the way back, obviously biblical times for those of you that are Christian or are familiar with the biblical context of the story of Adam and Eve in the garden and their eating of the fruit of the tree of life, and it never specifies that the fruit is an apple. However, in almost all of the
I think it also
artwork.
doesn't specify whether or not they ate it.
What?
It says they could eat from any tree, but it never says they did eat from the tree of life.
Oh, not the tree of life. No,
Yeah.
they ate from the tree of good and evil.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
but in both those cases, it didn't specify that the fruit on either of those trees was an apple.
Oh, correct.
But interestingly enough, in all of not all of it, but most religious artwork surrounding the Garden of Eden, Eve is biting out of and then handing her husband Adam an apple.
Yeah, because how many fruits grow on trees? Oranges and apples. I guess limes, lemons.
There's so many fruits that grow on trees. Anyway, and so there's this. If you do any research, even very, very, very preliminary research into the Fountain of Youth, you'll start to see this narrative emerge from the most ancient cultures that the original there was something that had to do with a piece of fruit that in most cases was an apple or sometimes was called a peach that gave you everlasting life. And if you stopped eating it, you would no longer have that everlasting life. And it's so that part is so interesting to me because in the biblical story, that tree of life, why did when they ate from the tree of good and evil and they ended up sinning and God clothed them and removed them from the garden. Why did he remove them from the garden? What did he put the angel, the flaming sword in front of to protect?
The tree of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Because he said he'll become like one of us.
Well, he's become like one of us in knowing good and evil. But if they also then ate of the tree of life, they would be left in their sin forever.
Yeah.
Immortal in their sin and disobedience and a lack of relationship with God, as opposed to having a way back to Christ, which I won't spoil the story for you here. So it was an act of compassion. It was an act of compassion that he protected, that he kicked, even though you read the story and you think, they're kicked out of this beautiful, immaculate garden. They're left to their own devices. They're now working by the sweat of their brow. She's having pain in childbirth. There's the plants have thorns. You're out of this immaculate garden, a relationship with God, and you think, what an awful, awful, awful circumstance. However, it's by his compassion, God's compassion, that he is doing that to protect them from this tree of life, from eating of the tree of life. And so,
Yeah, if you've seen Tuck Everlasting, their whole goal is to figure out how to die. You know? So,
after they drank the water.
yeah.
Yeah, because they realize it's a miserable experience.
Miserable forever
situation. Yeah. Actually, that's part of the Japanese culture on this mermaid monkey, is that it was actually a curse to have long life. And that goes along with what you're saying. Because I can imagine, for anybody that can think about living past multiple generations and watching your loved ones die, at that point, you know, what's left. It's fun for a while because there's, you know, unending power or whatever in that, but then then it's all alone, all loneliness. So anyway, so from these connection of stories, which, if you ask me, in my opinion, would then you go fast forward to the Tower of Babel, and the people are then scattered across the face of the earth, and you've got new cultures and everything emerging, and now you've got all of these stories, and they're based on the same account. That would be my opinion. But now we're getting to this fountain of youth. So where does this come from? Well, if you remember, in the biblical context, after a period of time, this guy comes along, Noah, the world is flooded, and who knows what the world looks like after the fact, right? What do the rivers look like? What does the land look like? Where is this Garden of Eden anymore? Where are, and we know from a biblical context, the Tigris and the Euphrates, but where exactly is this, and where does this water flow? And so from that, this interesting idea came up from who knows where, that it wasn't actually the tree that had the fruit that was that granted life everlasting. It was the water that fed that tree. And the water had previously been underground and only accessible by the fruit, and that's why you had to eat the fruit. But now was a fountain. And to your point, in Tuck Everlasting, there's a little spring there by one of these trees that they're drinking from, and that tree has been there forever because its roots are in that water. But now emerges what we know of today as this fountain of youth. And there's some things that are spread out in there that are kind of outside of that context. You mentioned the Philosopher's Stone, which it is a true account of folks that were always in search for this gem or something. I mean, it was traditionally used by masters of Western alchemy for rejuvenation and potentially achieving immortality. It was made famous in the
Harry Potter
books and then movies. And there was another stone, the White Stone, or the Sorcerer's Stone, different things like that were used. You mentioned the cup, the Holy Grail, which is this supposed Christian symbol during the medieval times that was supposed to be supposedly the cup that Jesus drank out of last during his Last Supper, and somehow then would give you everlasting life. The story goes is that cup was saved by Joseph of Arimathea, and he used it to catch the blood of Jesus as Jesus was crucified. And
I love that you can get eternal life by doing all this convoluted stuff.
Yeah.
But not by doing what Jesus says.
Anything but acknowledging that there's a God who made us, right? I can do this on my own. And so people have literally died over these quests for the Holy Grail, or any of these other things, as opposed to Jesus. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And so that's one of the things that's outside of this fountain. There was the actual fountain of youth, which was this pool with a fountain in it that was told about from the old and the sick that would go to lay there to cure their illnesses and restore their vitality, which is eerily similar to the pool of Bethesda. How do you?
Yeah.
Yep. In the Bible, and the healing there. So, and then we mentioned Spanish explorer Ponce de Leon, who was looking in the Isles of, or this mythical land of Bimini, which, to his chagrin, now exists thanks to Richard Branson, a little island called Bimini in the Bahamas. And so, and if you're like me and you played Age of Mythology, which was a computer game that is still around, I think.
Probably, yeah.
There was one of the main quest lines was to look for the Fountain of Youth, and it was supposedly in St. Augustine, Florida. So, for those of you listening and are from or in St. Augustine, Florida, you can attest to that. Actually, isn't St. Augustine the oldest encampment or city or something in the United States?
I don't know. Don't ask me smart questions.
Oh. I've been there 2 or 3 times, and I remember that was their claim to fame, is something about they either had the oldest fort there or settlement or the city establishment maybe in the Americas, or the longest lasting, something like that. So it's a really pretty place now. And maybe they have the Fountain of Youth there.
Oldest McDonald's.
Oldest McDonald's, that's right. So anyway, that is the kind of what I wanted to get to the point of all of this was this. There's this fascination with living forever, with the history of it, with finding it through all of generations of explorers and people looking for it, to even today, the new wave of this, living forever, is the bioengineering movement that's happening in a search to expand these telomeres or to create this makeup or this product from jellyfish or whatever that can rejuvenate and prolong your life and things like that. We've always been on this quest as humans to save ourselves. And I can understand that. If I was not a Christ follower, if I was not Christian in my belief system, what else would I have hope in if not for this? And I would pay every penny to try to find something that would give me a few more minutes of life on earth with my loved ones, or to do something that I loved. But as a Christ follower, as someone who I believe in everlasting life, in a resurrection with Christ after I die, I don't have to search for this. And there's a good counter argument to be made here that, oh, isn't that convenient for you, Tim, to just pick this belief and have that solve all your problems? And that's true. It is convenient. So I would say, yes, that you're right. I'm not arguing with that. And so if you are someone who has spent every last dollar and every last medical treatment, and you are the woman who is continually bleeding and no one can heal you, come to the Father and trust that He alone has the power to heal, and that He alone will give you life everlasting. And that is the point of my topic today. Anything you want to add to that, Stephen?
Oh, that was good.
All right. As always, everyone, thanks for listening. As my kids would say,
thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Anna Vivo podcast. We welcome your feedback and ideas. You can learn more about us by simply Googling the word Anna Vivo. This podcast is supported by listeners like you. I am a licensed real estate broker with Compass Real Estate and a nationwide real estate matchmaker. We consult with you for free, find and vet the right real estate professional that specializes in the area and niche you need, are paid by that professional, and they get clients like yourself who want and need their unique specialty or winning track record. If you or someone you know is in the market to buy or sell real estate anywhere in the U.S., Don't simply web search the highest paying advertiser. Let us use our licensed experience to find and vet the real and best professional for you. It costs you nothing but a phone call or email with me, and has saved my clients financially and emotionally. I'd be honored to serve, and you can reach me direct by email at tim.c.miller@outlook.com. And as always, to God be the glory.